WCW Greed, March 18th, 2001. The show begins as a video package. We go to the stadium. It's in Jacksonville. It's a pretty good crowd. There's pyro. It feels like a big deal. And Tony Schiavone screams, "It's the very first WCW Greed pay-per-view." That's sad. And yes, the opener is Kwee versus a guy who, if you've just been watching Nitro every week, you have never heard of before, Jason Jett, in what Tony says is an extra added bonus for our fans in the very first match tonight.
Yes.
So Jason Jett, as you noted, was Easy Money in ECW. He actually been around a long time. I forgot about him because he hadn't been all the way back at Smoky Mountain. He'd been around for a long time, got over in ECW, and just had the rotten timing to start with WCW in their final month. Got over, and then the company died. He went over to Heartland after the sale. Spoiler. Didn't stick around long, and he's still wrestling. Long story short, he was never. I don't think he ever got to the level he was, wrestling on pay-per-view for WCW. But he's still around. He got a TNA World Title shot not long ago. So that's the story of Jason Jett. Also, if you're wondering, I don't want to steal Craig's thunder, but he made his own gear. That's why it's so weird. Regardless,
Craig give you that scoop?
Well, Craig mentioned how wacky it was on Twitter, and Lance pointed it out.
I see. Who
worked with him, obviously, in WCW. So, Jason Jett has terrible gear, and he gets in the ring, and he's very innovative. Where almost every single thing he does has to be something new and creative. Can't just do a Vader bomb, has to do an extra quarter rotation and turn it into a leg drop.
Let's feud him with Canyon.
Except, the difference is, unlike almost every other moves guy we've seen, Canyon came to mind, Crowbar when he was still Devon Storm. Remember that match he had? Maybe with Sabu, but they tend to do either just spam move, just do a move, do a move, do a move, do a move, do a move. They're all innovative and none of them mean a damn thing. Or in Crowbar's case, when he's moving the entire time 100,000 miles an hour, stop to finish, Jason Jett would do a wrestling move. It would be a move he hadn't seen before, and then he'd go for a cover. The guy would kick out and he'd move on. Or he would hit a move and he'd just pause. And he'd let the crowd pop and go wild because they hadn't seen this cool thing before. He would let the guy sell to get over to you, the viewer, this move had done damage. So while he was doing lots of innovative moves, they came in the context of doing a good professional wrestling match, a sporting event where his primary goal was to win.
Should tell me this guy was a good worker?
He was a very good worker.
Wow.
Did the buckshot lariat 19 years before,
I'm sure young Hangman Page was watching the end of WCW.
He may have been.
But man, look at that match.
So
look at that move.
He did a bunch of cool moves, and then eventually, when it's time for the heat, he charges Kwee in the corner, and Kwee goes for like a backdrop, and rather than just like posting in the corner and dropping straight down like to the floor, Jason Jett he just keeps on flying like a jet and goes flying over the post and takes a really, really, really stupid bump to the floor. That was dumb. So Kwee takes over. Kwee-wee's hair is such a great heel gimmick.
Oh, it's atrocious.
Because it comes out looking stupid anyway. And the more the match goes on, the worse it gets. The cat can vouch for how horrible his hair was.
The cat hates his hair too.
Yes. So the crowd, of course, lets him hear it about how terrible he looks every time he does anything during the heat. They have a top rope battle. Jett tries a power bomb. Kwee in midair turned it into a Rana. I thought both of them were going to die. Somehow neither of them did. And then Jett hits the Tajiri elbow, does a big kip up, makes his comeback. They do a bunch of near falls. And a very clever finish. Kwee falls outside. In a spot where in 2020, every single wrestler in the world would do a big dive. But Jason Jett is a smart man. He shushes the crowd, gestures to them, please be quiet. And he lays down in the ring and plays dead. And Kwee gets to his feet outside. He sees his man in the ring, ready to be finished off with the kill. He goes up top, goes to the big elbow. Jett barely dodges and grabs him and hits what is now called an X-Plex for the win. This was a very good pay-per-view opener. In hindsight, best thing on the show.
You know, I had so many feelings about this match. When it started, I just couldn't believe that this Jason Jett, who, if you only watch Nitro, we'd never seen this guy before. and he's just here working an opener.
They were just told. He's been in WCW a week, had a match on Thunder.
And they went a long time, too. Let me get the exact time of this match here, because I'm a man who is a man of stats.
Sure.
They went, Jesus, only 12 minutes, 17 seconds. Felt longer than that. But they're doing this match, and I was watching it, I was really enjoying it. It was a lot of fun. And then it felt like they were building to a finish. And then Key was just laying there with him in a hold. And I'm like, okay, now you've gone too long. So then Jet makes a comeback, and there's so much cool stuff that I got back into the match again. I was like, I was wrong. They didn't go too long. Then they do that top rope super power bomb into a super Frankensteiner, and Tony Schiavone literally almost has a heart attack. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. He's probably purple. Thought for sure they were going to both break their neck. Get to the finish, and I just thought, you know what? That wasn't like a great match, but you know what that match was? That match was a lot of fun.
Sure.
And it also, when it was over, like as a Nitro viewer, I never saw this guy before, but he has one match with, of all people, Kiwi.
Yes.
And when it's over, I want to see more Jason Jett. So you couldn't ask for more. I give it 2 thumbs up.
Elix Skipper and Kid Romeo versus Kidman and Rey Mysterio Jr. in the finals. I wrote semifinals, that's wrong. The finals of the Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship Tournament.
I was so confused because of the way we do shows, and I wasn't sure exactly when this was. I thought this was just a random tournament match. And then in the finish, there's new champions.
There's belts, yes.
It's like, okay.
Well, half the matches were on Thunder. It's like, so I think we watched the A block, basically. We did not see the B block.
The other thing I got out of this is Ray and Kidman obviously are awesome.
Yeah.
They did a great job here. But so did Kid Romeo and Elix Skipper.
Sure.
And this Kid Romeo fella, he wasn't like the best worker in the world or anything like that, but as much as everybody makes fun of the power plant, as they should in most cases, this fucking guy trained at the power plant, and he had been in the business for 2 years. And if you look at how good he was in this match, and you compare him to some of the people that have been at the Performance Center for like 5-6 years,
sure.
It was a stark contrast. I don't know what it was, but I was like, fuck, look at this guy. And he had a great physique, and he had good poise, and he had a gimmick, and he just never did anything.
Never looked green, never looked deer in the headlights.
No, but I mean in the future, like, he had a little career, and then he was done. I don't know what happened, but I watched him here, and I thought, man, this guy could have really been something.
Well, part of what happened is WCW died.
I mean, that's a big something.
That's a big something, and it took 20 years for guys like Kid Romeo, unless they were super, super, super dedicated, to stick around. WCW dying, for those of you who weren't around, like it wasn't just a wrestling company went out of business. The wrestling industry suffered badly.
Sure.
For a long time.
But I mean, what about Japan or
yes, there was Japan.
TNA or
AJ
Mexico.
Styles is the same size he lasted, but
yeah, it was just weird.
If you have a guy like Kid Romeo who is pretty good, maybe Kid Romeo didn't want to go to Mexico, didn't want to go to Japan.
Well, he'd already gone to Japan. Which probably is one of the reasons that he was so good so quick.
That actually would explain a lot.
Yes.
I don't know the answer, Brian, but I do know wrestling is healthier. Well, not even right now, but in 2019, wrestling was healthier than it was in 2001. So this is one of those matches where they start with just everyone flying everywhere. They're brawling in the ring. They're brawling in the crowd. Everyone's doing giant moves. Ray and Kidman do a stereo sprinting dives off the stage onto Romeo and Elix as they're standing by the ramp. And then they all move back to the ring, and a tag team match breaks out. Suddenly it's a sporting event. It's a pretty basic tag match. I did like Ray doing the El Santo combo with the senton rolling through to his feet and hitting a tope and the other guy outside. There's a lot of moves where one guy is holding a guy down on the mat and the other guy does a dive off the top rope. And after a bunch of spectacular stuff, Ray tries a cabrata. Romeo catches him, hits an Emerald Frozen for the win. Kind of random, but it was spectacular and fun.
Kid Romeo interview from 2019.
Well, there you go then.
On VOC Nation's In the Room podcast. About the power play, he says, Paul Orndorff was awesome, but he was a little bit bipolar. He would have a great match on TV, and then when we showed up, he'd say, you guys suck. He'd have us doing squats, running, bumping for no reason. They want to make you pay those dues. He was on us. He never wanted us to get too relaxed. Jody Hamilton was very relaxed. He never yelled or anything. He just talked. Sarge was very animated. He couldn't help but to spit on you when he talked. That was his gimmick. Talks about being a former exotic dancer.
Well,
says, on the day that WCW was sold, spoiler, Shane McMahon came in, went around the room, picked and chose whose hand he was going to shake, and we just got a nudge with a hand on our head, and we just kept going. If I would have broken in 3 years earlier, my chances would have been different, I think. I wasn't the greatest wrestler. I wasn't a breakthrough innovator, but my character carried me through. I always got a response from the audience. And he did go to TNA for a little while there.
all right, well, tried it.
And finally, on whether he has regrets, he says, you know how the business is? You look at one person the wrong way, your career could be done. I didn't expect wrestling to be like that. If I could have changed anything, I would have kept quieter about my past and stayed away from girls. Former exotic dancer he was.
Yes.
There you go.
Backstage, Buff Bagwell has his own personal cameraman who is using Buff's own camcorder.
Yeah, we're doing this documentary.
They're still doing the documentary. So he goes into Flair's office. To
Sad we never saw this. The company died.
I wonder the final product.
Yes.
But the World of Buff. So he goes into Flair's office. They ask how Animal's head is. Apparently, Animal got hit from behind, he stresses, on Thunder.
Yeah, that was the match with M.I. Smooth. Remember when M.I. took all... When he took all... No, he took all the shots to the head.
On Nitro.
Yeah, and then they did the match on Thunder. Him and Shat beat Animal and Canyon. We talked about this last week.
Yes.
That was the match.
Okay.
Which, by the way, did take place 2 hours after he took those chair shots.
Yes.
Because they taped the same night.
Yeah. So, Flair says Scott Steiner is convinced it's one of them. There's a traitor amongst them doing all these attacks, laying out Medeja, laying out Animal. They all blow this off. This talk that one of them might be a mole. They talk about their respective tag matches tonight. And Buff asks, by the way, where is Scotty? Flair says, well, he's ultra paranoid. Until he finds out who took out Medeja and hit Animal, he's in his own dressing room. Buff won't stand for this. Buff vows to get the Magnificent Seven back together tonight. Now, I mentioned earlier, this was not the best pay-per-view I ever saw. I fell off a cliff here for a while.
Oh.
Sean Stasiak versus Bam Bam Bigelow.
So not as good as the previous match.
Or the match before that. Or frankly, I think as anything else on the show. This
was better than the Luger match.
You know what? I'm sorry. There's a lot of stuff worse than this. Now, this was not good. Sean Stasiak. First, Stacy comes out. She's still Stacy, but she's dressed like Miss Hancock again. She introduces the Sean and Stacy show. Stasiak comes out to wacky new music. The match begins. And it's like a house show. Stasiak just stalls and stalls and stalls forever. Match finally starts. It's hardly any better than the stalling. Bam Bam hits the headbutt. Stasiak kicks out. Stacy takes the referee, tosses her hairspray to Stasiak. Stasiak sprays the hairspray in Bam Bam's eyes, hits a neck breaker, and wins. Weak-ass match, I wrote.
Well, that was a weak-ass match.
It was a bad house show match given too much time on pay-per-view.
We did get Stacy at a bunch of 8x10s afterwards, handing them out to everybody, and Stasiak tried to give one to Bigelow. Scott Hudson screams, "He doesn't want that picture!" I like Scott Hudson sometimes. That was a funny line. He was appalled. Just disgusted.
Kat and Miss Jones have a chat backstage, which for some reason we see people backstage talking all the time. This one was via hidden security camera footage. So he wants her to stay in the back while he deals with Canyon. Elix and Romeo are celebrating their championship win.
Prime time, all one word it says on the screen.
Prime time. And Prime Time puts the belt on Elix, or Prime Time puts the belt on Romeo. Romeo puts the belt on Prime Time. They're all very happy and jolly, and they give each other a big hug, and then stop the hug quickly and do a manly, platonic handshake instead.
Kid Romeo says the chicks are going to love us tonight.
That's right.
I thought, would it have been that hard to send... I think Borash was there at the time because he was working for WCW Live. Send Borash with them to the club, wearing only their gear and their belts.
Of course.
and just fucking go nuts.
Hey, maybe they
it would have
did.
been unbelievable.
Maybe they did after this, and it'll be on Nitro.
I would not hold your breath.
No. Lance Storm and Mike Awesome versus Hugh Morris and Canyon.
Conan.
You're right. Okay, I got it later.
I am correct, Vinny.
Yes.
It was Conan.
Lance Storm and Mike Awesome versus Hugh Morris and Conan, who is not and never has been Canyon.
No.
So, Lance does a promo. He's going to finish this tonight and then go chase the tag team titles. The heat on Conan forever. Mike Awesome, you said something similar about Dominic Dijakovic the other day when you noted he's not a great worker, but he can do a lot of cool stuff.
Yes.
So you just put him in there with Keith Lee and say, do whatever you want. And the stunt show, the car wreck would be awesome.
Yes.
Mike Awesome can do a lot of cool things in a car wreck. But you put him in a wrestling match and ask him to do just a wrestling match, it's not going to go well. When it's time for the comeback and Hugh Morris eventually gets a hot tag, he hits the ring a house of fire. He punches Mike Awesome, and Awesome takes a big bump. And Hugh Morris turns around and he punches Lance, and Lance takes a big bump. And Morris turns around to hit Awesome again, and Awesome is still down selling. And Hugh looks at him, and he turns around and he punches Lance again. Bumping and feeding, not in Mike Awesome's repertoire.
I like when Lance and Mike Awesome were trying, they were going to do something on Conan. I don't know what it was. I didn't go back to check. But all I see is something gets screwed up, and Mike Awesome fucking hits Conan with a forearm to the face so fucking hard. And Conan, and luckily it was the heat, because Conan just had to sell for like 5 minutes. But this was brutal. You just heard this thwap when he whacks this poor fucking guy in the face. So yeah, they had Morris go up top. Lance distracted him. Awesome goes behind. Running Awesome bomb. Gets the pin. I thought it was fine. Conan getting worked over for a long time. It was too long.
Yes.
But what can you do?
It was fine when Lance was in there. It was a mess when Mike Awesome was in there. And also, much better when Hugh Morris was in there than when Conan was in there. I don't think any of this should surprise anyone. I also like, and this isn't actually the fault of anyone in the match, kind of maybe, the setup for the hot tag is Lance and Conan do a double clothesline. And Conan's supposed to crawl over to Hugh and make the tag. In the process, he rolls right over Lance, so the announcers think it's a cover. Then the camera cuts to Hugh, and the hot tag comes so out of nowhere that you barely even see Conan crawling for it. You just see a close-up of Hugh Morris reaching for a tag, and suddenly there's just a hand that touches his and he hits the ring. Yeah, this is kind of a mess. We go to Dusty and Dustin Rhodes' dressing room.
Dusty is just out of his mind.
He's
getting paid. Mm-hmm. He probably got the letter. He doesn't care.
No.
But even not caring, he's more entertaining than anybody on the show except Ric Flair.
So, the steps for this tag match are, if Dusty and Dustin win, the heels will have to kiss Dusty's ass.
These are not official steps, by the way.
No, there was no contract signed with this,
yes.
But that's what Dusty has said. So they're talking about this, and here on this promo, on this pay-per-view, where they kiss my ass match, they were bleeping the word ass.
Well, it's funny because they bleeped it. And then at the very end, Dusty says, the match is Flair's face and my ass! And they don't bleep that one.
They gave up. They had no more bleeps to give. So
this is very racist. Poncho bringing in a bunch of burritos.
I didn't catch his name was Poncho.
Yes.
But Dusty says, I've got some special workout stuff planned. A man, I actually wrote here, somebody. I did not catch his name as Poncho.
Dusty called him Poncho.
Poncho brings in 240 burritos, is what Dusty said.
And then clutches his back.
They're back.
Heavy burritos.
And Dusty says, I got a tip for you. Don't bet on the horses. That was Poncho's tip for bringing in 240 burritos.
Wow.
And Dustin is already reacting to the stench of these burritos before Dusty even opens one. Buff finds Rick Steiner.
Bagwell's doing his documentary. Okay? And he's got 2 questions for Rick Steiner. Now, if I may set this up, I'm going to go back to my Raw report from Monday night because I want to do a compare and contrast. So on Monday night, Charlie interviews Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is feuding with Seth Rollins.
Yes.
And Seth Rollins has challenged him to a match anytime, any place. So, 3 weeks before WrestleMania, her question to Kevin Owens is, Kevin, a few weeks ago, Seth Rollins challenged you to a one-on-one match anytime, any place. So, have you given any thought as to where you want this match to happen? That's her only question. Mm-hmm. So now we got WCW agreed, and Buff Bagwell has to interview Rick Steiner. He asks 2 questions. They're both significantly better than any question Charlie has asked in the year 2020 thus far. And this is Buff Bagwell, who doesn't give a shit about anything and is on cruise control, presuming he will just immediately be hired by WWE. He says, Rick, what are you going to do to Booker T tonight? Great question. Rick says, I'm going to thump his butt in a minute. Mm-hmm. Buff's second question, what is up with Scotty? This Medeja thing has gone to his head. He's accusing everybody. What's going on with your brother? Great question. Rick says, as soon as he finds out who's messing around, everything's going to be back to normal. Now, granted, that was a shitty interview segment. But still, even in a shitty interview segment, those were 2 acceptable questions. Buff Bagwell had questions, and he wanted to get answers. Fuck.
Well, I think that says a lot about how far standards have fallen, because here's what I wrote down about this. Buff found Rick Steiner. Rick vows to thump Booker's butt in a minute.
How long should I go, he says, like they're booking the match.
Yeah. Buff asks about Scott, and I can't even pay attention to get Rick's answer.
Wow.
Like, I zoned out. Like, if the segment was over, I was like, what did Rick say? And then I realized I don't care.
Well, that's the problem. You don't care.
You know, you didn't acknowledge it was a shitty interview segment. Then we go to Palumbo and O'Hare cutting a promo. Palumbo says he and O'Hare are survivors. First, I just realized how weird this is. Palumbo says he and O'Hare are survivors. And then O'Hare says the 2 of them would die to defend these belts. And Lex and Buff will have to kill them to take them away. Hard to do if you're survivors. Shane Helms versus Chavo Guerrero. So Shane got new gear. It's trunks and knee pads and boots. And he comes out and Tony says, new look for Shane Helms. He's got tights on. And there's an awkward pause and Scott Hudson says, thank goodness.
Were they tights? I thought they were trunks.
They were trunks, but...
Well, those aren't tights.
They're not tights, but nor are they the baggy cargo pants.
That's true, but I mean, this is we got to be.
They were trunks, not tights.
Yes, accuracy is very important on this show, Vinny.
I'm quoting Tony. Tony got it wrong. So this match was the most painfully average, and I want to stress this: painfully average match you ever saw. Like, at no point was this a bad match, but at no point were they doing anything particularly good either. They're just out there doing a pro wrestling match as it should be done. There was nothing insulting. There's nothing offensive. There's nothing terrible. There's nothing sloppy. There's nothing to make fun of, frankly. But at the same time, there was nothing to get excited about.
You know what this was, Vinny?
Nothing to enjoy.
Let me explain this
forward to.
This was what we've talked about many times. They were 205 Live.
Yes, actually.
Because the fact of the matter is, with all the big guys doing dives and everything like that, even in the year 2001, if you wanted people to care about your cruiserweight match, you had 2 choices. You could either be Ray or Kidman, who were stars to the audience and would get the people into the action, or you had to do a bunch of fucking crazy shit. These guys went out here, and Chavo especially. I mean, God bless Chavo, but he did no crazy shit.
Zero.
He worked like a heavyweight professional wrestler.
From the 70s.
But he was the cruiserweight champion.
Yes.
And he had his match with Shane Helms, not vice versa. So Shane did like a couple of things, but basically it was just like 2 guys who the crowd didn't see as very big stars, who are small, wrestling a heavyweight style match. And I thought that, like, you know, technically it was a good match, but nobody gave two shits about it.
No.
No one in the crowd cared. I didn't care.
No.
You didn't care.
No.
I'm not sure anybody cared. There appeared to be a boring chant.
There were boring chants that appeared to have been tried to be covered with piped-in noise.
Yes.
I think that's what was going on.
Now, at the very end, and this goes back to everything that I just said, the two things you need to have people care about your cruiserweight match: crazy shit or being a star. Neither man was going to be a star by the end of this match, but when Chavo went for the gory special and Shane flipped over and lifted him up into position for the vertebreaker, which is crazy shit, fucking crowd went crazy. They thought he's going to drop this guy in his goddamn head. And he did, and they fucking went crazy. They saw something scary. He pinned him. They saw a title change, and they went crazy.
Yes.
And then the Nitro girls, which you won't believe this in 2020, they were called the Sugar Babies. They came out and danced and shook their asses, and that was the segment.
That was the segment. Yes, it was a cool finish, which negated the super slow parts that got boring chants, leading again to just average. Jarrett and Flair are doing a promo on the camcorder. They're just talking about the tag match. They're not going to kiss anyone's ass. They just say this once or twice. It goes like 15 seconds, and there's a pause, and Flair looks into the camera and says, "End it! Book it! It's done!" The promo ended. Booker T does a backstage promo. Tells Rick to save the drama for your mama. This U.S. title has eluded me for 8 years, but tonight it's going around my waist. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
All right, allow me. Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell versus Palumbo and O'Haire for the tag team titles.
Correct.
All right. So this match was supposed to go 8 minutes, and O'Haire was going to pin Lex Luger with the senton. Luger and Bagwell decided that they did not want to do the job. They were told, well, you're going to do the job. So they complained, they cried, blah, blah, blah. And finally, they just decided, well, if we're going to do the fucking job, we're just going to go out there and just get it over with. So the 8-minute match ended up being 54 seconds. They go out there and Luger accidentally hits Buff. Luger and Bagwell get super kicked. O'Haire hits a senton on
both of them.
Bagwell. He hits a senton on Luger, and he gets the pin. Bagwell and Luger, after taking a senton in 54 seconds, they decide, well, if we're going to do the job, we'll show them.
Mm-hmm.
They lay on the mat, and they lay on the mat, and they lay on the mat, and they start showing replays of this match, and they're still laying on the mat. And then they go to a backstage video with Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner is in the shower doing pull-ups using the curtain rod, which I have no fucking idea how it supported his weight. That's like the most amazing thing about the whole pay-per-view. So he's doing his pull-ups. He turns to Madeja. He says, how many did I do? She says like 110. He cuts a promo on DDP, vows to destroy him. They show more replays. Mm-hmm. They finally go back to the ring, and these two shitheads are still laying on the mat.
Yeah.
They finally are helped to their feet. They start being carried to the back. And then what you don't see is they go through the curtain, and this may not be the exact quote, but this is pretty much the exact quote. Their explanation was, that's all we could get out of them. So, in their fucking stupid-ass minds, they thought that by saying that, people would think, oh, O'Haire and Palumbo, they're so green that Luger and Bagwell, they could only get 54 seconds out of them. But they're so, God bless them, this is the example of people who are so dumb, they don't even know how dumb they are. To go out there and say, that's all we could get out of them. That's not burying Palumbo and O'Hare. That's burying you two, dumb shits. You're telling the world that you could not get 2 minutes out of Palumbo and O'Hare. Yeah. Well, fuck. What are we paying you for? Jesus Christ. You know how many matches I've seen with Palumbo and O'Hare that have gone way more than 54 seconds that have been fine matches?
All of them.
Sometimes there's a missed spot here. Sometimes there's something here that doesn't look great. But fuck! Everyone else has gotten more than 54 seconds out of these two guys. What the fuck are we paying you two fuckers for? And if I recall correctly, we'll know in a few weeks, I believe the next night on Nitro, Palumbo and O'Hare face Lance and Mike Awesome. I wonder if they can get 54 seconds out of these two guys. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
We may never know.
What a fucking disaster this was.
What were you saying in that letter about the professionalism of WCW?
The fucking professionalism. And you know what's even better? They fucking hired Bagwell. And not only did they hire him, but as most of you are probably aware, that Tacoma show was supposed to be Booker T versus Lance Storm for the title. And the decision was made that, you know what? Bagwell is probably the bigger name. And so they gave him that match. And as they say, the rest is fucking history. If somebody from WWE would have just watched this fucking match right here, God only knows TNA would have been called WCW until today.
So, yes, we have the Steiner thing backstage. We go back to the ring. Lex, by the time they go back, it's been like close to 10 minutes now. Lex is at least like rolled to the floor. Bagwell literally is not moved. Tony Schiavone and Scott Hudson, who once watched Marcus Bagwell suffer a broken neck in the ring and be unable to get up, they're legit worried. They're concerned. And the referees start to roll Bagwell over, and they're screaming, no, don't do that. Wait for the TMTs to get here. And then Bagwell sits up. They say, okay, he's not paralyzed. That's good. And he's helped to the back. And I don't think Tony and Scott quite ever figured out what was going on until the next segment had actually begun. Now, the next segment is Cat versus Canyon. I think I would rather watch Buff and Lex lay in the ring doing nothing. So
I wouldn't say it was that bad. I preferred to watch this match over those two idiots acting like clowns.
So Canyon now, for some reason, he's obsessed with Miss Jones and doing horrible things to her. He has two goals in mind. The first is to take out Miss Jones for some reason. The second, as noted, he must do a lot of moves. And then once he's tried both of those, he just goes to a chin lock in the middle of this match. He's done his moves. He's got the Cat incapacitated to the point where he can just wrap his arm around his head and lay there. Why did he give up going for Miss Jones as he had done earlier? I don't know. The Cat has the win with the feliner, but Canyon gets a foot on the ropes. Canyon then hits a weapon shot. Now the Cat kicks out of the weapon shot, but he's still selling. He's still down on the mat dead. Canyon then deliberately, on purpose, unmistakably takes out the referee. Just clobbers him from behind. He dares Miss Jones to get into the ring, and she does. The Cat recovers. The Cat grabs Canyon. Miss Jones throws a kick at Canyon.
Miss Jones misses a kick, but Shat takes a bump. That's what happened.
That happened.
She just threw her leg in the air, and Shat fell down because she was supposed to accidentally kick him.
I can't believe how much crap they stuffed into this match. Not this much needed to happen in this particular match. So now the Cat's down. The referee is down. Canyon dares Miss Jones to fight him. Miss Jones is willing to fight him. They don't do much. In fact, he never actually laid a hand on her, I don't think. Eventually, she does nail him with a kick. He turns around. The Cat hits his kick. And the ref is there to count the pin. This fucking sucked, I wrote.
Well, the good news is, and I will get the good news out of the way first. This was happy ending, poetic justice, storytelling. Shat and Miss Jones got their revenge on Canyon. So that was good. Now, did Canyon need to do 25,000 moves in this match? And did they need to kick out of 85,000 moves, which is more moves than they actually did in the match? I don't think they needed to do that.
No.
This was not the main event of WrestleMania. Thank God.
That would be a bad Mania.
So I was just watching going, oh my God, how many moves are we going to kick out of here? Like, I didn't even know there were that many moves in wrestling. They did all of them and kicked out of them. So then we get the poetic justice and the happy ending and the fans cheering. And I thought, match was overkill, but you know what? Not terrible. Then the moment I say it was a happy ending, Canyon fucking attacks the Shat and he lays him out.
This feud must continue.
And he goes to kill Miss Jones. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You gave the people a happy ending and now you're just... But then out came M.I. Smooth and he saved the day. So in the end, another happy ending there. M.I. Smooth helped run off Canyon.
I suppose.
So I didn't hate it, but I certainly, in my lifetime, do not ever need to see this match again.
I hated it. I will say that. I hated it. So, at this point, now, we've been watching the Monday Night Wars for a long time. I usually watch Raw, take a break, and then watch Nitro. This was a 3-hour show. So, it's actually probably shorter than those two shows back-to-back, but I, at this point, really, really bad wanted to take a break. It was like an hour left in the show. I muscled my way through. Camcorder guy captures Lex and Buff Bagwell bickering backstage. You accidentally hit me. It was your fault. Blah, blah, blah. They decide to go their separate ways before one of them says something they will both regret. And they storm off. And the Buff turns and yells at the camera guy who was filming this, of all things. We go back to the Rhodeses. Dustin is outraged at Dusty's pre-match ceremony here, or a ritual of eating 240 burritos. Dusty is standing up, rubbing his belly, so I can feel him working all the way down to my saddlebags, he says. And he's stretching, and Dustin warns him, please, don't lift your leg this way. And Dusty vows it's going to get smelly. No subtlety about what's going on here. So we go back to Hudson and Shivani, and Scott is trying to talk about what we just saw on the camcorder with Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger. It's more cracked than the Magnificent Seven. Maybe one of them is the traitor, blah, blah, blah. For like a minute, he talks, and he turns to Tony, and Tony just says, we just saw Dusty eat 40 burritos, and you want me to talk about Buff and Lex. Indeed. Rick Steiner versus Booker T. All right, a new way the network sucks. I haven't seen this one before. I press pause. I get like a drink of water or whatever. I come back. I press play. The show goes back to the start of the pay-per-view.
Ah,
that sucked.
Yeah, I've had that happen before on live shows when we try to watch after it started. But yeah, that's a powerful glitch.
That happened like 3 times in this show.
What are you watching on?
The web browser.
Oh, we could just go back to where you were.
I can just scroll. Yeah, but then I have to. Yeah, okay.
I realize that sucks, but like, it's not like you got to watch the fucking show again.
No, I can fast forward. And yes, I realize there's more important things in the world going on. But it should not be this hard to make something work the way it's supposed to, especially when it has worked the way it's supposed to for many years.
I don't remember what it was, but there was some service I had where if that would have happened to you, you would have to fast forward to get back to where you were, but it only had 2 times speed.
Okay, this is better.
I'm like, what
I
the
can click and
fuck?
drag the thing along. This is much better. But it still sucks. Speaking of sucking, Rick Steiner promised me he was going to thump Booker T in a minute. Instead, we got this match. It was much worse than somebody thumping somebody in a minute. They laid around. They did nothing. It was very lazy. Finally, there is a ref bump. And then Rick Steiner hits a German suplex and makes a cover, but there's no ref. The heel hit a wrestling move and made a cover and was screwed because the ref was out of position. They do some stuff. Shane Douglas appears. He's got a cast on his arm. He's feuding with Steiner. He waffles Steiner with a cast. Booker hits the bookend, and he wins. Ever since Booker T won the world championship for the first time, he has been the biggest geek of a babyface ever, and it just continues. He can never just win a match clean. There must be shenanigans. There must be lucky breaks. The heel must get screwed. Booker gets every break and somehow scrapes by and escapes.
Dude, it's not only that. The heel got screwed twice.
Yes.
Because Steiner had a visual pin and Douglas out there with the cast, which, by the way, there was a ref bump in this match and the last match.
Yes.
And somebody used a cast in this match and the last match.
Yes.
Is this that hard?
Yes.
The show was not perfect, but thankfully it got perfect next.
Well, first Animal finds Buff laid out. And Lex comes in and he says something to imply maybe Animal did it. And Animal says, no, I just got here. And it's like the modern WWE promo where they leave the camera on the guy way too long. They left the camera on Lex way too long, which just left him staring at Animal in suspicion for 10 seconds. It was funny. And then Jeff Jarrett and Ric Flair versus Dusty and Dustin Rhodes. So Flair comes out. It's Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. He's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, slacks, and loafers.
Yes. Like it's a surprise he was working tonight.
Yes.
There was a movement at the time because Flair was old to make sure that he wore a shirt.
Right.
But I mean, did we have to go all the way in that direction?
To go... He looked like dad at the golf course.
And not only that, you know what's the most amazing? I guess it's not amazing at all now that I think about it. Ric Flair in a Hawaiian shirt, slacks, and dress shoes was still a better worker than almost everybody on the show.
Ric Flair in Hawaiian shirt, slacks, and loafers, and Dusty Rhodes in t-shirt and blue jeans with a combined age of like 150. Best thing on the show by miles and miles and miles.
Closer to about 100.
And they knew, as great as Dusty was, he couldn't carry this match. So Dustin was in there for a long time. He did some stuff with Jarrett. He did some stuff with Flair. They built and teased. It wasn't like a hot tag. It's not like Dustin had the heat on him at first. But they just had Dustin do a bunch of stuff so the fans would want to see Dusty. They tagged Dusty in. Dusty did a bunch of comedy. Dusty and Flair did their shtick. It went like a minute. Dusty tagged out again. Then they got the heat on Dustin. And eventually, it built up to the real hot tag to Dusty, and he did like a minute again. Dusty was only in this match actually wrestling for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Good!
Yes, that's my point. They knew what he could do and how great it would be, and they didn't give it a chance to get overexposed or start to wear thin.
Let me simplify this in one sentence. These guys were incredible doing virtually nothing but getting everything out of it.
Yes, that is also true.
They did like one high spot, which was headlock tackle. That was the spot. Fucking place went absolutely crazy. And like every time Flair would do something crazy, Dusty would just raise the elbow.
Yes.
The way that you raise your fist, and Flair would... Oh, man, it was great.
Yes, and Dusty would always wiggle his ass at people. But in the context of this match, it meant more. So Dusty gets the hot tag. He whips Flair in, gives him the bionic elbow. Flair takes a big flat back bump right in his back in the middle of the ring. And Dusty waddles over to the other side, and it takes him a while to get there. And he raises the elbow again for the big fat elbow. And Ric Flair, still in slacks and Hawaiian shirt, on his back, looks up at Dusty, raises his hands and screams, "No!" But Dusty dropped the elbow on him.
Yes.
And pinned him. Oh, excuse me, no, there was more.
No, they botched the fucking finish.
They did.
Dustin and Flair botched a small package. But somehow, I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe this using real life. I can't even think of it. But like, they both fucked up the beginning, but somehow, in falling off the cliff, they fell into the cover and got the finish.
About right.
It was the craziest thing. Dustin goes to do it. Flair rolls early. Dustin falls down, but he falls on Flair and pins him.
They took entirely different routes to get there, but ended up at the correct destination.
Yes.
Yes. It did not look good, but hey, it got the job done. Now, in all honesty, I cannot sit here with a straight face and tell you this was a particularly good wrestling match, but it was the most fun thing on the show.
It was 5-star entertainment.
Yes.
And then, if you want to break the scale, when the match is over, Dusty told Flair to pucker up, get in here, and kiss my big white ass.
Yes.
And Flair is in the aisle selling words. His eyes are bugging out. He's gesturing wildly. He's screaming. And he refuses to get in the ring. Mm-hmm. And so they take out Jarrett.
Yes.
And they lay him out, and he bumps into the corner. And Dusty pulls his fucking pants down, and he's got the biggest pair of red underwear you've ever seen. And as Scott Hudson noted, Flair sold the underwear.
That's what he said.
He may have taken a bump for the underwear, just the sight of it. He gets into the ring to sell even more. And then Dusty goes over and he rubs his ass all over Jarrett's face in the corner. Flair's just out of his mind. Flair and Jarrett flee up the ramp. Ric Flair's selling after this match was like one of the great moments of his career.
Sure.
If you have a compilation of the best of Ric Flair, Flair selling no contact. He's selling words and threats and an attack on somebody else. That is one of the greatest moments in Ric Flair's career. It was so good. And as they noted, here on the final WCW pay-per-view of all time, this was the first time that Flair and Dusty had ever worked together on a pay-per-view.
On a pay-per-view, yes.
Because all of their biggest matches had taken place before pay-per-view.
Yes.
And here they are having the highlight of the show on the last ever WCW pay-per-view, both in their 50s, in fucking street clothes. It was just, I loved it. I loved everything about this. You don't want to build the company around guys like this, but you run your
3-hour show. There's plenty of room for one thing like this.
There's something for everybody.
Yes.
And this was fucking for me.
And you know what this was? Besides this being fun, this was a filler. This is the death spot on the show, but they didn't just waste it and then just send something out there to die. They sent something out there wacky to be fun to build to the serious main event. So Tony Schiavone, also in the not giving a fuck stage of his career here, he notes in all the post-match shenanigans, Dusty can pass gas on call. I've known that for many years. And then as Dusty's about to reveal the big red underwear, Tony Schiavone screams with glee, he's gonna drop Trow.
Excuse me?
That's what he said. And he did. He was right.
He dropped Trow.
Yes. So we get Scott Steiner versus DDP, Falls Count Anywhere in the main event. If you've ever seen a Nitro main event, this was like those. There was a lot of crowd brawling, a lot of weapon spots, very random table spot, lots of garbage, lots of crutches being used. Both guys end up bleeding. Scott Steiner, at one point, they got a close-up of his face and looked like he'd been cut in about 9 different spots.
Well, the real big one was at the end, which I'm almost positive was Hardway, because Page is not bleeding at all. Like Shawn Michaels, before he went to the cage at Hell in a Cell, this fucking guy, did I ever mention that Shawn Michaels is the greatest?
Oh, wait, really?
He fucking
hot take.
Goes for a drop kick, and the Undertaker grabs his legs in catapult position.
Yeah.
Shawn's on his back.
Yeah.
As Undertaker is going for the catapult, Shawn gigs in mid-catapult, goes into the cage, comes down, he's fucking bleeding all over the place.
Yes.
At which point he puts the blade, I believe, into his mouth and then into his trousers.
Something like that, yeah.
Which you would think that he would never do after an AWA match where he put his fucking blade in his pants and fucking cut his legs and fucking bled all over his white pants. Anyway, so DDP, there's no blood. His hands are nowhere near his head. Steiner fucking hits him with the belt. You just hear this. And DDP goes down and suddenly he's bleeding everywhere. And I couldn't hear what he said, but he said something to Steiner.
Ow, Brian. I think he said ow.
He did a short conversation. Probably like, I think he said something like, finish me off or something. But anyway, Steiner goes for a crab, and DDP's just fucking bleeding everywhere, but he gets the ropes. And then Steiner gets a pipe, and he just beats the shit out of this guy. It's blood everywhere. Puts him in the recliner. Page is bleeding all over, and he's submitted.
Yeah.
Goes unconscious. And like, this was not like an all-time great match or anything like that, and it was the end, so this doesn't even matter. But if you look at the storyline that they were doing, which was Steiner was killing everybody. Well, he fucking killed this guy.
He did.
And I remember, and this was a little creepy till I realized that DDP wasn't dead, but we're watching the Nitro from 19 years ago, and when it ends, the next one starts.
Right.
So the next day is Nitro.
Please don't tell me there's another funeral segment.
And no, well, I don't know if there is or not, but I just know it opens with "Rest in peace, Diamond Dallas Page," because Steiner killed him at this pay-per-view.
Another funeral.
And like when that graphic was on the screen, I was like, oh wait, he's not dead. It's storyline. But like if you watch this match, Steiner fucking killed this guy. Like if the storyline was he was taking out everybody, he took this dude out.
Yeah.
And eventually DDP was going to come back, obviously, with everybody else, but he was going to have to be out for a little while after this beating.
Yeah. So yeah, that had all the makings of your classic WCW main event, crowd brawling, weapon shots, all that stuff. Ref being pulled out of the ring, interference, weapons, and then that finish. So, and then instead of just having Steiner pose with the belt and a little trademark icon on the screen and fading to black, we got like a 60-second recap video just reminding us all what we saw, which I kind of laughed at first, and then I was like, wait a minute, this is a better way to finish than just like yanking the cord and fading to black.
Not only that, Vinny, how many fucking times have they tried to tell us what happened the night before, and we can't figure anything out? And here, they recapped every finish in like 30 seconds with clips.
Yeah.
This show was live.
Yeah, it's also true.
They threw that video together in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of Nitro,
can't do it then.
You watch Nitro, you don't know what fucking happened on this pay-per-view. So anyway, way better than I expected.
I still can't in good conscience give it a thumbs up.
I can. I give this 1 thumb up. I don't give it 2 thumbs up.
I shall give it a thumb in the middle.
All right.
There's some good stuff and some bad stuff. There's better things to watch on the network.
Well, sure there are, but as far as like WCW goes, this was a thumbs up show.
Well, yeah, this is one of the best WCW shows I've seen.
Koiwi, Jason Jett, very good. Ray Kidman match, very good.
And the Roses and Flair.
The interviews were all right. The Lance match was fine. The Chavo match, I mean, it was fine. It was boring, but it was like professional wrestling.
It was painful.
Luger and Bagwell, I mean, it was just fucking ridiculous. If you want to see some stupid-ass history, Kenyon and Shad I could do without. The fucking Flair Dusty thing was just great. And it was a strong main event. So, there you go, everybody. Next week, it's No Way Out. WWE No Way Out from 2001.
Yes.
And then maybe things will be a little more back to normal by then. I doubt it, but you never know. So let's get these out of the way, and away we go. And that's it, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with Dave. I will be back tomorrow with Mike. And I'm back right now. So, hey, lots to listen to while you're sequestered at home. So check it out, and that is it. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Adios. March 19th, 2001. We begin with like what has to be their 93rd funeral segment since Halloween Havoc. R.I.P. for DDP. They're playing taps. They show a flag at half mask. There are shots of a trailer park in the background. And we get clips of Steiner retaining his title against DDP agreed last night. So Steiner and Flair and that whole crew is coming out for a promo when Tony Schiavone says the following words, which actually, this part I did write down word for word. Fans, a very, very important announcement to begin our telecast. Less than an hour ago, we learned here tonight in Gainesville that at some point we will get a live call from Eric Bischoff. A live telephone call. And Eric has a huge announcement to make. We can only wonder and speculate exactly what Eric's huge announcement is. I bet there's a lot of wondering and a lot of speculating going on, especially after the announcement.
Dude, there's a lot of people on the internet, but I mean, it certainly was not as many as today. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there were a lot of people on the internet, but those that were closely following wrestling on the internet, the wrestling audience, I don't know, maybe 10%. So you're talking like 90% of the viewers of this television show, they've just been fucking watching Nitro. And all they know is there are going to be some new owners coming in. But, you know, they've had so many owners, presidents, commissioners, that I'm sure nobody thought it was anything but bullshit. And all of a sudden, there's just like, tonight there's going to be an announcement. And when we get to the announcement, oh boy, I want to talk about that announcement.
So Steiner brags about beating Page. Now he's on the outside looking in, just like Sting and Kevin Nash and Sid Vicious and Goldberg. He buries all the white trash fans. Flair brags about teaming with Jarrett to beat Dusty and Dustin Rhodes the night before. Schiavone cuts him off. That's an outright lie, he says. And Flair says, I should have made Dusty kiss my gator ass tonight here in Gainesville. At this point, the Rhodeses appear on the screen.
I just loved when Flair claims that they won the match, which they did not. And Tony Schiavone is appalled. He goes, that's an outright lie, and I'll talk all over him to say it.
Yes.
Even at the end, when people thought that Tony sucked, he actually was very good. He was just in a shitty position.
You know what? That's actually a good point. We haven't talked about it much, but as much as everything else went off the cliff in WCW over the years, Tony Schiavone was still doing his job for the most part very well.
He was the one constant.
Yeah. Well, there was a reputation that at the end, like, he sucked and all the commentators sucked. And I mean, if you want to compare them to, like, 1988 NWA or Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, yeah, they sucked, but most of that was because, like, no one ever told them what was going on. They had no idea what was going on. They were just kind of doing whatever they could to try to get through each taping. It fucking sucked there. Everybody hated it. But, I mean, despite all that, I mean, it was not as bad as people remember. He did a lot better job than people recall.
Yes. So Dusty Rhodes is on the screen talking about winning the night before. Jarrett kissed his big white ass the night before. Flair's going to kiss his big white ass tonight. His line about Jarrett, I can't believe he actually said this on TV, and it made TV. Jarrett puckered those lips up and kissed old Brownie One Eye.
That's what he said.
Old Brownie One Eye.
Wow.
Dustin is just aghast in the background.
Well,
fucking horrifying.
I was aghast in my room. So Dusty brings out Booker T in his new hairdo. Steiner says Booker T's been gone so long he forgot where the barbershop was. A very 2020 reference.
Sure
if
was.
you look hard enough, you can find one.
Yeah. Booker.
My hair's getting longer every day. I fucking cut it off right before this happened. Now it's going to be long again by the time I can go back to the barber.
I might have found a Mark Barber last week.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah.
On the underground. Yeah. Booker steals...
The dark web.
The dark web.
That would be the brunette web.
That's true.
Booker steals Chris Jericho's "Please shut the hell up" line. He tells Steiner, I've been talking to the man. And Steiner says, what do you mean? The man's right here. And he points to Ric Flair, who's still CEO. And Booker says, no, I mean the man. And he said, Steiner, you be back here in an hour, and you bring the gold. And you have clips of DDP getting taken out in an ambulance at Greed. So, backstage, Buff Bagwell and Road Warrior Animal, they're watching the replay of when Buff was mysteriously attacked backstage. And this is being shot by Buff's personal cameraman, the guy making the documentary Buff has hired to film them.
God, it's too bad this place went out of business. I'm dying to see that documentary.
So they're very mad at the cameraman for not getting the attack itself. They still don't know who's doing it. They list off all the victims who've been laid out at one point or another.
Okay, let me ask you a question here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so one by one, members of the Magnificent Seven, or whatever their stupid group name is now, they've been laid out, okay? So why is the assumption that it must be somebody within the Magnificent Seven? Is it just they're such cocky heels that they can't imagine that anyone could take them out except one of their own? At least they could say that.
When this is done, Animal and Buff have come to the conclusion that Lex Luger must be doing it, and they send the cameraman to find Lex. That's all I know. I don't know why they think it's Lex. I don't know what evidence they have that it might be Lex.
None.
It doesn't make any sense. Jason Jet versus Disco Inferno.
This match. This match was actually pretty good.
Yes.
But, I mean, they're in there, and Jason Jet, he actually made a great comeback. Dude, he's doing every crazy move in the world. Handspring elbow, standing moonsault, all these spots. And then he hits a suplex and gets the pin.
How that happens.
I was like, what?
He's stealing Canyon's gimmick.
So Disco now is best friends with Mike Sanders out of nowhere. He says that Jason Jet last week beat that bum Alex Wright. Or excuse me, he says this bum Alex Wright. He's cutting a promo to Alex Wright. Says, Alex, this bum beat you last week. Now watch me do what you couldn't do, you big, bald loser. And then, of course, Jason Jett beats him, and essentially beats him and Mike Sanders at the same time. Sanders is in the ring for like half this match. Ref either has to pretend not to see it for like minutes at a time, or just doesn't care. And it didn't matter because Sanders got beat up, and Disco got pinned, and Jason Jett won, so there you go.
Hey, they're trying to push new people. I got to give them credit.
With that said, I watched this a scant 5 weeks ago, and this guy was a seamstress or something like that. He made gear, correct?
Yes.
And this is what he put on display to show that he can make gear.
There's trunks and knee pads and boots like any wrestler, and then it's kind of these stocking things running down the side to the knee pads.
Right.
Maybe he was busy making money selling all the good gear.
It looked like something that Naomi would wear, almost.
Kind of. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but Buff and Animal sent their camera guy to find Lex Luger, right?
That's what I heard.
Okay. The cameraman is walking around and narrating his own video, saying, I've got to find Rick Steiner. He goes into Rick Steiner's room. This looks like Rick Steiner's room, he says, and he pokes open the door, and there's Flair and Jarrett having a meeting. And Flair is vowing he will not kiss in the ass tonight. And the cameraman says, I don't need to hear this. And he leaves. All right.
Whatever. I got bigger fish to fry.
Shane Helms is in the ring cutting a promo. He promised to win the Cruiserweight title, and here she is, he says, holds up his new belt. But this comes with a blemish. I earned this title shot at Super Brawl in a match I was not supposed to be in. I was taking the place of Billy Kidman. And Billy Kidman, you beat me once, but I beat you once. Now I need to prove it to myself. Let's get it on.
All right, allow me for a moment. So it's Kidman versus Shane Helms, and it's just a whole bunch of moves. Move. I mean, it's good, but it's like just a bunch of spots. And Kidman tried to powerbomb early, but failed. He should know better. And so, if you recall on Raw, they did a fake pee angle, where Chris Jericho fake peed in William Regal's tea, and William Regal drank the fake tea, but the fans were all horrified and they screamed in horror over something that was fake.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in this match, they're doing their match, and Helms grabs him, and he lifts him up in Gory's special position, and Kidman is upside down, and Shane Helms drops for the vertebreaker, and fucking Kidman lands right on his goddamn head, and now the fans scream over something real. They gasp. They think that Kidman is dead. It's
I thought
fucking
Kidman was
brutal.
dead.
Okay. So apparently, when the match is over, Kidman stumbles through the curtain. Everyone's making sure that he's alive. And they're like, what the fuck happened? You landed on your fucking head. And Kidman basically said, well, I know I'm supposed to tuck my head, but I didn't.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, he's not wrong.
He was just upside down. And
With his arms hooked.
And he knew he was supposed to tuck his head, but for whatever reason, he didn't. And he got dropped right on his goddamn head and almost killed.
It was beyond terrifying.
So it was a good thing that they eventually got rid of the vertebreaker in WWE, because even when you know, just like it's happened with the Styles Clash, I mean, sometimes just shit goes awry. And when it goes awry with the vertebreaker, you almost die. So that's what happened here.
Now, the good news is it was the finish.
And he didn't die.
He did not. Well, that's also good news. It was the finish, and he did not die. So Helms wins, obviously. He's immediately attacked by Chavo and Elix and Kid Romeo, and then Ray Jr. makes the save, and the ghost of Billy Kidman was there, helping to avenge his death and turn the tide. Next week, we are told, it's spring break out of Panama City.
Oh!
And the huge season finale.
It sure was.
You know what? We might have overthought this. We were talking about black tie affair. I'm thinking Hawaiian shirts and lays.
Let's show up in bikinis.
That's not going to happen.
Dude, I'll do Hawaiian shirts.
I got one. I would much rather wear a Hawaiian shirt than a tie.
That's true.
All right, fine. We're going to go all Panama City next week. Got it, everybody?
Excellent. Excellent.
I need to find some
much happier.
some bleach for my hair.
The camera guy finds Lex Luger. He has been killed. Bam Bam Bigelow says, agreed, we saw somebody screw somebody else over. We saw a man who needed a woman to fight his battles in the ring. He has a rematch against Shawn Stasiak tonight, and Stasiak went to fight his battles by himself. And he says, Bam Bam Bigelow is going out there to prove one thing. And that's to prove a point.
Right.
That's definitely one thing.
So, the announcers, I know I just talked about how they weren't as bad as we all remember them being. Like an hour into the show, the announcer's like, wait a minute. Eric Bischoff's calling. Booker T said he talked to the man. Eric Bischoff must be the man.
Right.
They figured it out. Animal and Buff tend to Lex, who's not dead, it turns out. But they say they've all been laid out at one time or another. Let's see, it wasn't you, it wasn't me, it wasn't Lex. Jarrett and Flair are busy, they say. That only leaves one person. Has anyone talked to Rick? So even though the camera guy had been searching for Rick Steiner this whole time, now they're looking for Rick. A bad show, this Nitro. Stacy Keibler comes out for a promo. She wants a bigger ovation next time, but now she wants to introduce us to the Shawn and Stacy show, and the star of the show, the mecca of manhood, Shawn the Star Stasiak.
God bless Shawn Stasiak. Sure, he's a nice guy, but fuck. Who the fuck thought this was like a great idea for a pairing? Shawn Stasiak and Stacy Keibler? He comes out, he cuts a promo. Honest to God, it's fine. Like, it's definitely not great, but...
It is Pro Wrestling Heel 101.
Well, I mean, she comes out and she's like, I expect a bigger ovation from you people next time. I'm like, this is the most bottom of the barrel heel bullshit. Then he comes out and he goes, I out-finessed and out-wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow last night. I have no idea why the fans cheer Bam Bam. Oh, I know why. They're fat, out-of-shape, beer-drinking slobs that only wish they could look as good as me. I'm like, dude, is it the fucking 80s? What the fuck is this shit? So he calls out Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam Bigelow comes out. Despite what Shawn Stasiak said in his promo, there was a distinct lack of finesse in this match. None whatsoever. They just do a bunch of shit. Stacy throws a fucking bottle of hairspray to Bigelow. Bigelow gets it, but he doesn't use it. Instead, he drops Stasiak at his head with the Asbury Park driver. He gets the pinfall, and he wins.
I know you misspoke and said she threw a bottle of hairspray to Bam Bam. She really threw it to Bam Bam.
Yes, I did not misspeak. I only speak about what happened in reality. So then Stasiak has another fucking promo.
Now, what's amazing about the match and this segment that's happened is it's amazing how much awful stuff they packed into such a very, very short time.
Oh, yes.
This went like a minute. But afterwards, both Shawn Stasiak and Bam Bam Bigelow are completely blown up.
Okay, so they're blown up, and I know there's a lot of shit that we say, oh, this is a very famous moment. But I watched this fucking segment that I'm about to recap here for you, and I have no fucking idea how this segment did not fly under the radar. So Stasiak says the only reason Bigelow won was because he cheated. Bigelow says, I didn't cheat. I won clean in the middle. And Stasiak says, I want a rematch. Bigelow says, what's in it for me? Stasiak says anything. Bam Bam Bigelow then says, how about tattoos? Bam Bam Bigelow cuts his promo. He says, you know how awesome it is when a little bitch is sitting in that tattoo chair and she's crying and she's in so much pain that eventually sometimes she just passes out, which is a bonus. I was like, what in the fuck? What in the fuck did that guy just say? I rewound it, and in fact he said, you know how awesome it is when a little bitch is sitting in a tattoo chair and she's crying and she's in so much pain that sometimes she even passes out, which is just a bonus. I fucking almost fell out of my goddamn chair. How the fuck does nobody talk about this? This was the craziest thing I ever heard a babyface say. So he wants to tattoo He wants a tattoo next week if he wins. Stasiak says, oh yeah, Stacy's all for that. She's not all for it. And he goes, I'll take the match. And Bigelow goes, I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about you. You, the prissy little thing, he says. I'm talking about you, Stasiak. That's their match for next week. I was aghast. I was fucking aghast watching this segment.
I was right there with you. As Bam Bam Bigelow, the alleged babyface, is talking about tears rolling down her face as needles are ripping through her skin. Like, Jesus.
What in the
God.
fuck?
Yeah, no good. No good, this show. So Scott Steiner comes out. It's time at the top of the hour. It's time for the phone call. And Terry Taylor is out there with a table, but Steiner immediately throws all the furniture out of the ring. Booker T comes out. He reveals that the man is, in fact, Eric Bischoff. So shut up and listen.
Okay, so there was so much going on at this time that I never watched this Nitro again. And there was so much stuff behind the scenes to talk about that was fascinating. So this is the first time in 19 years that I've listened back to this Eric Bischoff phone call on Nitro. And it is amazing. Eric Bischoff calls in and he sounds like he's at a funeral.
You've never heard a man so defeated.
He is defeated. He is depressed. He is just the most miserable Eric Bischoff you've ever heard. And he says, I would love to be there tonight, but it's just not possible. For the past 6 months, I have been working with a group of people to acquire World Championship Wrestling so that we can rebuild it again. And by the way, they were so far along, he thought, that they actually issued a press release announcing that they had successfully purchased the company.
Yes. I believe they announced it on Nitro at one point.
It was in the newspapers. It was a press release. It was all over the country. But then, as it turns out, at the last second, Turner canceled Nitro and Thunder. And without television, the company was worth nothing. Mm-hmm. And then they offered it to Vince McMahon for $2.5 million and an agreement to buy X number. It was like $2 million worth of ads over the next God only knows how long. Vince bought it, and Eric was fucked. And Eric says, we've run into some roadblocks that may, in fact, be brick walls. He says, while I'm still in power, I want to do everything for what could be the last night of wrestling on Turner Networks, which, in fact, it was for 19 years. I want to provide an exciting program. Every title will be up for grabs next week, including the Cruiserweight title, the Cruiserweight Tag titles, the U.S. title, and the World title. Steiner, you will be facing Booker T, title versus title. I want to extend an open invitation to any former heavyweight champion to join us in Panama City and bring your boots. Flair, I know we've had a rocky relationship, I'll say, but I have a lot of respect for what you've done for wrestling. But with all due respect, you need to kiss Dusty Rhodes' ass tonight. And he hangs up. That's, by the way, the final words from Eric Bischoff as he announces to the world that it's done. That Ric Flair needs to kiss Dusty Rhodes, which, by the way, is ironic. His final parting words. So, what's amazing to me is that he even fucking bothered. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's done, but he's still bothered to book a show for next week. And he books all of these matches, and you got to remember that, like, there was a fair number of people in WWE or in WCW that thought, this is not real. It's all part of Eric's plan. He's bought the company. It's all a work. And next week or the week after or, you know, in April or whatever, it's all going to be rebuilt and we're going to be back in action again. There were a lot of people that believed that. Lots of people. But if you watch this segment, like, you can see, like, Flair doesn't give a fuck because he's done. But, like, Scott Steiner's got his sunglasses on and he fucking looks like he's crying. And Booker T's there on the aisle and he's got a very, very morose look on his face. And I think they knew that this was it. It was all over. And the best they could hope for is they were going to get signed by whatever happened. Like, if Vince bought it, Vince would bring him in or whatever. But you could see there were people in this segment that, man, they knew this was a grave situation. And the fans, like, none of the fans at E90 what's going on. They're just cheering like it's an angle or whatever. But man, this was amazing to watch. This was fucking amazing to watch.
It's just, I would love, maybe at some point Eric Bischoff has talked about what was going through his head at this moment, but it sounds like two things. First of all, like you say, he thought he had a deal done until the very last second, and the deal did not get done. But there also had to be part of him and part of everyone who thought, my God, it took us less than 3 years to kill this place. Things were going so well, and then went south so quickly.
I promise you that going through his mind was not, it took us 3 years to kill this place. He was thinking about being screwed and AOL Time Warner and how it's everybody else's fault except his, which we've heard for 19 fucking years, by the way. And I would bet you anything that when he said there's a big roadblock, I'll bet you he thought there's a 2% chance I could pull this off in the next week. So he continued to do his show just in case.
Sure. So after he's done, there's a brawl and a melee, and Steiner and Booker and security are all out there. Eventually, Booker clears the ring, and that's that. So Buff tells Jarrett and Flair that the rest of the gang is going to go confront Rick Steiner. They're convinced he's the one who has been attacking them. Flair says, I don't care. I am concerned with not kissing Dusty Rhodes' ass. He respects all of them, but he's got a problem. Jarrett tells them to deal with it themselves, and as they're shuffling off to do whatever, Ric Flair is just screaming to the ether, I cannot kiss ass! Am I Smooth versus Canyon? Okay, this match sucked.
Yes.
But, holy crap, the stuff Am I Smooth could do. Like, he's out there, he's fucking up atomic drops, he's taking backdrops on his ass, but then this, I don't know, 6'4", 300-plus pound monster, he did the most amazing standing splash in this match. It looks like he's jumped off the top rope, but no, he's just jumped 8 feet in the air with his 300-pound body and comes smashing down onto Canyon.
Dude, this Am I Smooth was a big, strong man.
This is a hoss.
And, you know, you can compare him to, like, Keith Lee, because Keith Lee does the high leapfrog and then the big drop kick. And Am I Smooth did a leapfrog in this match. It was so fucking high. And I just watched it and I thought, this guy is even more agile and athletic and just as big as Keith Lee. But this was like his last match. Mm-hmm. After this, he was done.
Because when he wasn't doing the cool stuff, his in-between stuff sucked.
I realize that, but man, he was so talented. This fucking guy was a talent. And he was charismatic.
Yeah.
And this was it. He was done.
Yeah. So, among the reasons it sucked, it's not just the fault of the men in the ring. Randomly, Animal comes out and DDTs Am I Smooth, and Canyon wins. The Cat runs out and fights them both off, and this leads to Cat challenging Canyon, Chris Canyon, and Road Warrior Animal versus the Cat and Am I Smooth in a tag team match for the very last episode of Thunder. Mm-hmm. What? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Brian and I recapped the Greed pay-per-view back before everything went to hell, and everything they did with Dusty in the Kiss My Ass match on that show, they did again on this show. Dustin has a giant tray of burritos. Dusty cuts the exact same promo on the burritos. They're working their way down his body, down to my saddlebags. It's going to be very stinky when Ric Flair kisses my ass. Rick Steiner versus Conan. Now, I know WCW has been dead for 19 years, but part of me thinks somewhere this match may still be going on. Which is amazing, because it only went like 3 minutes, but it was the longest 3 minutes of my entire life. Like, nothing happened and it sucked, but it was short. I was like consciously aware it had not been that great amount of time, but it felt like I was like stuck on an airplane.
Just, you know, days go forever right now. Days last so long. This felt like half my day. This was so bad. And it was all Conan's fault.
Conan's completely blown up. They're doing just long chin locks. Nothing is happening. Part of me thinks it's supposed to go a minute, and Shane Douglas missed his cue. Eventually, he comes out there, and this match has sucked, and it's been boring and awful, and then Shane runs in and just hits Rick for the DQ. I very nearly lit my laptop on fire.
No, dude, I didn't. I was watching this, and, it's one of those Rick Steiner matches where, for whatever reason, when it's time to sell, he sells. But then, when he's done selling, he beats the shit out of you.
Yes.
He's fucking punching Conan right in the face. Conan's holding his nose. And when Shane Douglas ran in, my first thought was, if I'm Conan, I fucking kick this guy's ass. Why didn't you run in early? I was out here getting my ass handed to me, and you took an hour to come out here.
Now, do you think Rick was giving him a little bit of receipt because he was screwing things up so badly?
No, this was what Rick was doing to everybody for weeks, if you recall.
There is that.
And then, so it's a DQ. And then I don't know where Shane went to. He just left. And Rick, he's selling the cast shot. He's down. He's grabbing his head. He's hurt. And then he stops and he gets up and he punches Conan out more. And eventually Hugh Morris makes the save. So all of Rick Steiner's buddies backstage confront him and accuse him of being the one who's been taking them out. He says, there's nothing going on. I just got out of the ring. I've known you guys 8, 10, 12 years. I never jumped on any of you guys. I'm going to go cool off. You better be gone when I get back. And I hope for these men's sake they were gone when he got back. Lance does a promo where he must have planned a 1-minute promo, and they told him, you got 10 seconds to go, because he's talking 1,000 miles an hour. Last night, me and Mike Awesome beat Hugh Morris and Conan. Now we have a non-title match. After we beat Palumbo and O'Hare, we will get a title shot. There's not a team alive that we can't out-wrestle or beat up. Sooner or later, those belts are ours. So Flair backstage is with Jarrett. He's still panicking. He says, it's the moment of truth. And Jarrett says, you're the CEO. Act like the boss. So it's Lance Storm and Mike Awesome versus Sean O'Hare and Chuck Palumbo.
Okay, so if you recall, Palumbo and O'Hare faced Luger and Bagwell on the last show, which we talked about like 2 months ago.
On the pay-per-view.
And yes, they have a shitty 2-minute match. No, it was Nitro, I think. But anyway,
it was the pay-per-view. It was the Greed pay-per-view.
Is that true, Vinny?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Anyway, whatever. So they do this short, shitty match, and then they go through the curtain and they say, that's all we could get out of them.
Right.
So it's Palumbo and O'Hare versus Lance and Mike Awesome. And Lance and Mike Awesome go in there, and they fucking have a great match with these two guys.
Yes, they do.
And Lance is bumping his ass off all over the place, and that's your fucking job as a worker, to make the other guys look like $1 million. And that's what Mike Awesome and particularly Lance did here in this match. They're just doing all of this stuff, and Palumbo and O'Hare look great. Lance is selling for him like crazy. This big comeback. The place goes crazy for Palumbo making this comeback. Everything's going great. And then, of course, Mike Awesome grabs a chair, and he's supposed to hit Palumbo from behind. He hits him right in the back of the fucking head.
So hard.
Almost kills him, busts him open. Palumbo's half dead, and Awesome hits a powerbomb, and Lance and Mike Awesome get the pin. But, man, dude, Jesus.
This chair shot.
My guess, okay, is that Lance and Palumbo and O'Hare and these guys were all going to get signed to WWE one way or the other when WWE bought the company. Because, of course, WWE went through and I forget, it was like 24 contracts or something like that they picked up from WCW. But, I would not say that it is impossible that this match here got these guys hired. Because they all looked so fucking good in this match. Like, how could you not watch this match if you're WWE and not say, I want all these guys? So, it was great. But Luger and Bagwell, fuck, they couldn't get anything out of these guys.
Yeah.
Like it was the other guy's fault.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this chair shot to finish this match was actually more violent than the vertebreaker we saw earlier in the show.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm pretty sure these same two teams had a match a couple months back. I specifically remember Mike Awesome and Sean O'Hare being in the ring together. And all I can remember from that match was it was so good when Lance was in there and so bad when he was not. Well, this match, for the most part, was good all the way through. And either Mike Awesome just did better, or Sean O'Hare and Chuck Palumbo were improving rapidly. I like to think the latter. And it was by far the best match of the night on either show. And then Mike Awesome had an ECW moment, thought it was Masato Tanaka, and just destroyed a chair and a head. So it's time for the big finish. Flair and Jarrett come out. They call out Dusty Rhodes and his big fat white ass. And Dusty Rhodes comes out first and says, I'm going to introduce you to my father, Dusty Rhodes, and his big fat white ass. And I actually wrote down, Dusty comes out with his big fat white ass, and lo and behold, Dusty comes out with a big fat white ass.
Yes.
As in a barnyard animal.
A donkey with Dusty's ass
Yes.
written on its ass.
In case you didn't get the joke.
This is the second to last Nitro. This is the last legitimate. This is the main event segment of the last pure Nitro in the history of pro wrestling.
That's fitting. That's very fitting.
The donkey's name was Silvadala, baby. Or something like that.
So Flair and Jarrett argue about which one of them will kiss the ass. I can't do it, you do it. I can't do it, you do it. This is a ruse. They jump Dustin together. They beat him up. Dusty saves. There's a big four-way brawl, and they just drag the heels over to the ass. They kiss the top part of the back in front of the tail. I'm like 90% sure I would have kissed this ass where they kissed it instead of kissing Dusty's ass.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. But the best part is, like, the baby faces shove the heels faces into the ass of the ass. And Jarrett, like, his face hits and then he starts selling and running away. Flair's just like...
Milking.
Yes.
Milking is the wrong word.
That
Eating
is.
the ass is the wrong term.
That is
But man,
the
he's there for a long fucking time. And then he does his big Ric Flair sell and he's going crazy. And I was just watching this and it's funny because, like, you know, Flair cried for any reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything that happens in wrestling, Ric Flair cries.
Sure.
But man, WCW is dying. He's kissing a horse's ass, and he's like, fuck, I'm making the most of this. He's just, I mean, he's so glad this is done. He is over WCW.
The load is off his shoulders. It's the best thing to happen to him in years.
Yes, he is auditioning for a job here, and he did a hell of a job doing so.
So there you go, everyone. One Nitro to go.
One left.
One left, everybody. It's the Panama City Nitro. Let's do Vinny's music, and then we'll wrap it up.
The finishes on this show were pin despite all sorts of interference, pin via murder, pin despite attempted interference, pin after interference, DQ due to interference, and pin after chair shot.